Brought to you by Allstate, whose policies now include protection for your home, your family, as well as your car. You're in good hands with Allstate. And now, let's all play What's My Line?
Well, there seems to be some doubt tonight about the heavyweight champion of the world. But I hope you'll agree with me there's no doubt about who's the undisputed champion of panel moderators. And here he is, wearing white trunks, about 6 pounds overweight, dapper John Charles Daly.
I thought spring had arrived, or something like that, that Bennett was being so complimentary, and then 6 pounds overweight. I'm bitter about that, I am indeed. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's My Line. We have some very interesting occupations tonight. We will also have a famous mystery guest before the panel a little bit later in the program, and now we'll meet our first contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Harry?
Wheatcroft, right, sir?
You're absolutely fine. Mr. Wheatcroft was asking if he was standing in the right place. We have some marks on the floor where we're both supposed to stand. That's why we look down all the time, you see. Where are you from, Mr. Wheatcroft?
Nottingham, England.
Nottingham, England?
Yes.
Oh, that's fine. Have you just come over to this country
Just
recently?
for a trip.
For a trip recently. Well, it's nice to have you with us, sir. May I present our panel? Mr. Wheatcroft? Would you join me over here, Mr. Wheatcroft? Coming from England, I suppose you know What's My Line over there. You know how we keep score on our program here in America with these cards. Every no answer, we tip a card over.
Yes, I'm well
All right.
acquainted.
Well, in that event, let's let the folks in the audience here and the folks who are at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mr. Wheatcroft is self-employed, that he deals in a product, and we'll begin the general questioning with Arlene Francis.
Well, Mr. Wheatcroft, do you do something that the public watches? Do people watch you at your work?
Sometimes.
Do you work out of doors?
Sometimes.
Do you have, do you sell something?
Yes.
Is what you sell with you when you are selling it as opposed to being in a store? Is it with you, on you, or in your hands?
No.
That's 1 down and 9 to go. Mr. Bishop.
I'm safe to assume you don't sell barber products.
The answer is in the affirmative.
Is it something that any one of us on the panel would perhaps buy?
Yes, I think so.
More the feminine side of it than the masculine side?
No.
Oh, I would, with Mr. Wheatcroft's permission, I would say that whether the product was bought by man or woman would depend pretty much on circumstances. We would have to agree that both would buy the product and readily and give you that as a sort of qualified no so that you can continue your question.
A qualified no, and I'm continuing?
Yes.
I'd rather get a qualified yes and skip me, John. Is it something that is sold in your country more so in England, rather more so than in the United States?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Is this anything I could hold in my hand, Mr. Wheatcroft?
Yes and no.
What is that, a qualified yes or a qualified no?
No, actually, what Mr. Wheatcroft is intimating here, that in one estate, yes, you could hold it in your hands. In another, it would be unlikely that you would.
I see.
Right, so
It's very good.
Then may this product be something that in its larger estate would not be sold, but part of it would be sold, and that would be its smaller estate?
Well, I think with your permission, sir,
Indeed. Translate for me.
I think that's a fair way to put it, Dorothy. We don't want to mislead you, but it is possible that in the terms which you described, you would hold the product in your hands, whereas in another condition, let us say it might be, well, I can't say. It might be too big or too difficult in its entirety to hold in your hand, and therefore you wouldn't.
I see. Would the smaller version of this product ever be found in the home?
Yes.
Would it be considered edible?
Sometimes.
And that is true. We'd have to give you the answer sometimes, although in our normal experience, we would consider that it was edible in a rare sense.
You mean like desperation?
No.
Edible in a rare sense. Well, is it edible usually by something other than human beings?
No.
Well, let me have a small conference.
He's having a hard time dodging the whiskers.
Mr. Wheatcroft agrees that taking the question, in all of its scope, we would have to agree that others than human beings would eat it and do eat the product more readily.
I see. Is this product eaten by dogs?
No.
No. 3 down and 7 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mr. Wheatcroft, I must observe, when I was a kid, we used to play a game called authors. And you look just like several great American authors. Hawthorne, Longfellow, Whittier. Doesn't he, John? Nevertheless.
I hope that helps you, Bennett.
Not a bit. Mr. Wheatcroft.
Well, I was waiting.
Mr. Wheatcroft, may I rule out, when you talked about this sometimes being eaten by people but not by animals, I'm ruling out cannibals. I may do that, may I
Oh,
not?
you can rule out cannibals.
There's no human flesh involved in this.
No human flesh.
Was your product at any time ever alive?
Yes.
It was. Would you say it was an animal?
We're accepting the word alive here in a very broad sense.
You mean like the fact that vegetables might also be alive? There's life in that. Well, would this life be connected with the animal kingdom?
No.
No. 4 down and 6 to go, Miss Francis.
It's not connected with the animal kingdom. Are you including fish in the animal kingdom? Is it plant life of some kind?
Yes.
Does it grow above the ground?
Yes.
Is it seasonal?
Yes.
Is it ever poisonous?
No.
No. 5 down and 5 to go. Joey Bishop.
You grow this yourself, sir?
Yes.
I'd like to take a wild guess, if I may. Is it in the cacti family?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mr. Wheatcroft, when this is eaten, would it be eaten as a main dish rather than a side dish?
No.
7 down and 3 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Would this thing that you grow, Mr. Wheatcroft, make somebody possibly make their eyes water? Is it strong? Is it a very strong substance?
No.
Is it
Nope.
like horseradish or mustard?
No. 8 down and 2 to go, Miss Francis.
Is this something that you might put in your mouth and not swallow?
No.
Oh.
9
No,
down.
no, no.
Mr. Bishop.
Is this something that is considered healthy?
Yes.
Now, I take another one. Would it be in the spinach family?
No.
I know that's what you might be getting at, the eating part of it. Actually, Mr. Wheatcroft is a world authority on roses and grows roses and is here in the United States because he is to be the guest of honor at the American Rose Society Convention in San Diego, I think it is next month.
That's right.
But he with his brother constitute Wheatcroft Brothers Limited, and they're known all over the world for
Who
the...
eats roses, John?
I do.
It goes into honey sometimes, rose petal honey.
Rose hip jams.
Rose hip
and
jam.
candy.
And they're
Candied
very,
rose.
very good to make you see in the dark if you eat rose hips, you know.
And I believe also in some Japanese, elaborate Japanese dinners, their rose petals are served and are eaten at the same time. Well, thank you, Mr. Wheatcroft, for stumping the panel. It's nice to have you in America, and we hope you enjoy your stay here. Well, panel, let's see what we can do with another contestant. Will you enter and sign in, please? Vesta. Vesta Austin, is that right? Is it Miss or Mrs. Austin?
Mrs.
Mrs. Austin, where are you from, Mrs.
London, England.
From London, England. Well, fine. We are reaching hands across the sea tonight. May I present our panel, Mrs. Austin?
That is it.
And will you join me over here, please? Again, I will assume that you know of What's My Line in England, and perhaps you know how we keep score on the American version.
Yes.
In that event, let's let the audience in the theater and those viewing at home know exactly what your line is. All right, panel, we can tell you that Mrs. Austin is salaried, deals in a service, and let's begin the general questioning with Bennett, Cerf.
Mrs. Austin, I'd like to single out 3 professions and ask if you belong to one of the 3. Have you anything to do with either food, drink, or show business?
Yes.
Well, then let me eliminate probably the wrong thing. I'll eliminate show business. Have you anything to do with both food and drink?
That was very good, Bennett.
I knew
That's
it.
1 down and 9 to go, Miss President.
Well, thank you, Bennett.
All right.
Show business. Is it, do you appear on a stage when you do your performing?
Sometimes.
Do you have other people performing at the same time that you are working?
Yes.
Have you ever appeared on television?
Yes.
Is your performance mostly a visual one rather than an elocutionary one? That's pretty chic, isn't it? I don't know how I have to think of that.
Have you been in Palm Beach?
John's going to do the act with her in just a minute.
Yes.
I was just learning my lines, after all. Now, I would say that your premise is a very sound one. While we admit that
You've been peeking.
I've been peeking. I beg your pardon. There are audio elements, but the audio elements are not overbearing in the presentation.
Uh-huh. Do you wear a special kind of costume for your work?
Yes.
Do you have anything to do with acrobatics in any way?
No.
That's 2 down and 8 to go, Mr. Bishop.
Are you in the variety field of entertaining?
Yes.
Have you ever been on a panel-type show in England?
Yes.
I've got the wildest idea that maybe she plays What's My Line in England.
Well, I would say, I think that we would have to concede, Joey, that Mrs. Austin has been on What's My Line in England, but if you would like to ask, is this the line which we're trying to identify, you'd have to put it specifically in those terms.
Yeah, well, let me ask, have you ever been a panelist?
No.
That's fine. Thank you, Joey. That's 3 down and 7 to go.
I didn't even finish my question, John.
Mrs. Austin, when you do whatever it is that you do you wear a more abbreviated costume than you are wearing now?
Sometimes.
Do you do any moving about?
Yes.
Do you hold anything in your hand?
Sometimes.
Could you be called an exotic dancer?
No.
Not at all. 4 down and 6 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Austin, is music any part of your act?
Yes. Yes.
Is the music played or sung by people other than yourself?
Yes.
In other words, it's an accompaniment to what you do.
Yes, yes.
Do you do any kind of dancing?
Yes.
Is part of your act dancing?
Part of the act
Yes,
is, yes.
yes.
Do you also do things beside dancing?
Yes.
You do them while you're dancing sometimes?
Yes.
Would there be anything connected with magic or tricks
No.
while you're doing them?
No, but you're getting very warm, Bennett. 5 down and 5 to go, Miss Francis.
Are there any animals in the act with you?
No.
6 down and 4 to go, Mr. Bishop.
Is what you do on television beneficial from a health standpoint?
No. 7 down and 3 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Mrs. Austin, you've said that there are no animals involved. May I rule out that you are part of an animal or imitate an animal or get inside an animal costume?
No.
Yes, you may rule it
You
out.
may rule it out. So you dance and you move about and you hold things in your hand. Are you any sort of a juggler?
No.
8 down and 2 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Mrs. Austin, do you possibly wear something like skates when you do your dancing?
No.
9 down and 1 to go, Miss Francis.
Are you ever off the ground when you do your work?
No.
No. 10 down and no more to go. You've been running all around the edges of this one.
A ballet dancer?
Mrs. Austin is a musical clown, presently with the Pollock brothers in the Crime Circus. And before Mrs. Austin leaves us, I must say, comes to her talents by long tradition. She is a member of the famous Grimaldi family, the famous Grimaldi circus clowns, and is in the United States now and is going to be traveling around the United States. You're at the Medina Temple. I
Yes,
believe.
the Pollock Brothers Circus is now appearing in the Medina Temple in Chicago, and we're going to travel through about 26 states of America.
Wonderful.
And we hope everybody will come to see us because it is a wonderful show.
And more important, we hope you learn to like America very
We
much
will.
while you're doing it.
Thank you
Nice to
very
have you with
much.
us.
Thank
Good
you.
night. We'll meet tonight's mystery guest. Now we come to the special feature of our program, the appearance of our mystery challenger, for which the panel is always blindfolded. Mr. Bishop?
John, I have to disqualify myself. I inadvertently found out who it was.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, Joey. We were going to have some fun with you.
Well,
All righty, thank you very much for telling us about it. The rest of the panel is all blindfolded?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Challenger, will you come in and sign in, please? All right, panel, as you know, in the case of our mystery guest, we go to a different form of questioning. One question at a time, in turn, moving clockwise, and we begin with Dorothy Kilgallen.
Do you have anything to do with the recording business? No.
1 down and 9 to go, Mr. Cerf.
Are there more than one mystery guest out here tonight?
Yes.
Is there more than one?
Yes.
3 of you?
Miss Francis?
Could be wrong.
Did Bennett get an answer to that?
Well, he only had a
I
right
have
to
a right to
ask
answer.
one question. Is
Oh.
there more than one? And that has been answered.
Well, is it man and wife?
No.
2 down and 8 to go, Miss Kilgallen.
Do you work as a team?
Yes, we do.
Mr. Cerf.
Is a famous hotel named after you fellows? Like Ritz?
Oh, no.
Are the 3 Ritz brothers?
The Ritz brothers.
Oh, Joe, that was beautiful.
I give you my word of honor, I did not tell anybody.
Well, tell the folks how you found out, Joe.
I called the international restaurant where the Ritz brothers are appearing and wanted to know what time the first show would be over. And the head waiter said it'll be over by 10 o'clock because the Ritz brothers are going on early. They're doing What's My Line?
That was cute, Joe. It really was. You know, John, it's really a pleasure being here. In fact, it's a pleasure for us fellas to come back to Broadway after being in absence of 5 years. And it's really been wonderful over there, and everyone is...
They're paying a great tribute to us, boys, and we're grateful for it, John.
Talk it up, talk it up.
I think you Harry, that test. The four of you look very, very good together.
Yes. We can use another pause.
This is Chico.
Harry, Jim, and Al, well, I must say it's wonderful for all of us that you're back again.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, John.
And well, I have been glad, and I think someone, a very well-known columnist, has told us that's the first time in 40 years that Lindy's is giving us a party tomorrow, which hasn't happened before, just welcoming us back to Broadway.
Lindy's is?
Lindy's tomorrow to get through the second show.
I think I should explain that Lindy's is a very famous restaurant here in New York, to which many of the greats of show business have gone over a great many years, and it's a real tribute if Lindy's gives a party for a performer who comes back to New York after an absence. But Harry, Jim, and Al deserve all of it. I can remember those wonderful zany pictures that you all made when I was a bit younger than I am now, and what great good fun you've always had yourself.
Well, after we get through here, we're on our way to the coast. We're making a series for TV, and I think it's going to be a nice format. And then somebody wants us to go back to Europe to do a picture. It was a show called Three Thieves. It was in Paris.
How come I didn't know about this?
Well, I could take the other two guys always, you know, talking about it. But it's very nice, though. Everything has been wonderful, John, and we're very happy about the whole thing.
Well, thank you, Harry. Jimmy, now. Much appreciated. Well, I must say that was a slam-bang one very quickly. Joey, thank you again very much for telling us that you did know who we had as a mystery guest, and thank you also for telling us how you found out. I think that's one of the best stories that What's My Line has heard in a great many years. Well, we'll be back after this word from our alternate. And it's nice to have Miss Arlene Francis back from Florida. And good night, Arlene.
Good night, John. Good night, Palm Beach. Good night, Joey Bishop.
Good night, Arlene. Good night, Dorothy.
Good night, Joey. Educate them, Phyllis. Good night, Bennett.
Good night. Well, I hope I'll be seeing a lot of you on television again tomorrow night. Good night, John.
6 pounds overweight. It's terrible. Good night, Bennett. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us on What's My Line.
What's My Line is a CBS television network production in association with Mark Goodson and Bill Todman.
This is Bud Collier reminding you to expect the unexpected and some fun as well in the game To Tell the Truth tomorrow on most of these stations.
What's My